Most families believe they are doing everything right. They are careful with money, they are generous with their grandchildren, they pay their bills, they help their kids, they give gifts at Christmas and weddings and graduations. They are by every ordinary measure responsible people. And that is exactly why the mistake I am about to describe is so devastating. Because it is not made by careless families, it is made by the good ones, the generous ones, the ones who did everything they thought was right. It is a quiet mistake. It makes no sound when it happens. You will not know you have made it. And then years later, when your family finally needs Medicaid to help pay for care, it surfaces, and by then it is too late to undo. The quiet Medicaid mistake that the vast majority of families make is this: they give away money without knowing that Medicaid is watching. If you are the one who handles things for your parents, or if you are a parent yourself trying to help your children while you still can, this video is for you. In the next 25 minutes, I am going to show you exactly how this mistake happens, why it is so easy to make, and how to protect your family from it. My name is not important. What matters is that by the end of this, you will understand a rule that most American families never learn about until the moment it costs them. Let me explain the rule, because everything depends on understanding it clearly. When a person applies for Medicaid to pay for long-term care, a nursing home, or in many cases care at home, Medicaid does not simply look at what they own today. It looks backward. Specifically, it looks back 5 years at every financial move the person made. 60 months of bank statements, transfers, gifts, and withdrawals. This is called the 5-year look back, and its purpose is to catch people who give away their money to qualify for Medicaid. But here is the cruel part, the part that catches the good families. The look back does not care why you gave the money away. It does not distinguish between someone deliberately hiding assets and a grandmother who simply gave her granddaughter $5,000 for her wedding. To Medicaid, both are the same. Both are transfers. Both are penalized. Let me say that again, because it is the heart of everything. Ordinary, loving, completely innocent gifts, the kind families give every single year, are treated by Medicaid exactly the same as deliberate attempts to hide money, and they trigger exactly the same penalty. Here is how the penalty works. Medicaid adds up every gift and transfer you made in those 5 years. Then it divides that total by the average monthly cost of nursing home care in your state. The result is the number of months Medicaid will refuse to pay for your care, even though you now qualify in every other way, even though your money is gone, even though you desperately need the help. Let me make that concrete. Suppose over 5 years a grandmother gave, in total, about $50,000, a wedding gift here, help with a grandchild's college there, a few thousand to a son going through a hard time, the ordinary generosity of a loving matriarch. And suppose her state's average nursing home cost is around $10,000 a month. 50,000 divided by 10,000 is 5. That is 5 months during which Medicaid will pay nothing. 5 months at $10,000 a month. $50,000 the family must now cover out of pocket at the exact moment they have nothing left. She did nothing wrong. She was generous. And that generosity, invisible and innocent at the time, became a $50,000 problem years later. Let me tell you about a man named Robert. Robert was 76, a retired postal worker, a widower, and by every account one of the most generous men his family had ever known. Over the years he had quietly helped everyone. When his granddaughter got married, he gave her $10,000 toward the wedding. When his son lost his job, he covered the mortgage for a few months. When another grandchild started college, he wrote a check. He never thought twice about any of it. It was simply who he was. When Robert had a stroke and needed nursing home care, his daughter began the Medicaid application. She gathered 5 years of bank statements as required, and the caseworker added up the gifts, the wedding, the mortgage help, the college checks, all the ordinary generosity of a good man, and calculated a penalty period of just over 7 months. At more than $9,000 a month, Robert's family was suddenly responsible for over $60,000 in nursing home costs before Medicaid would pay a cent. Robert had not tried to game the system. He had simply been generous, the way he always had, with no idea that Medicaid would one day look back and count every act of kindness against him. That is the quiet mistake. And Robert's family is far from alone. It happens to good families every single day. Let me tell you about a second family, because their story shows a subtler version of the same mistake, one that catches even careful people. Margaret was 73 and had done what she thought was smart planning. Reading online that she could give away money tax-free each year, she began gifting the annual amount to each of her 3 children and 5 grandchildren. Thousands of dollars a year spread across the family, entirely legal and entirely innocent as far as taxes were concerned. She thought she was being wise. She thought she was reducing her estate and helping her family at the same time. What Margaret did not understand is that the tax rules and the Medicaid rules are two completely different things. The annual gift tax exclusion, the amount you can give without filing a gift tax return, has nothing to do with Medicaid. Nothing. A gift that is perfectly fine for tax purposes is still a countable transfer for Medicaid. Margaret had confused the two the way thousands of people do because it seems logical that a gift the IRS blesses would be a gift Medicaid accepts. It is not. Over 4 years, Margaret gave away nearly $90,000 this way. When she suffered a fall and needed care, that $90,000 became a Medicaid penalty of roughly 9 months, $90,000 her family had to cover before Medicaid would pay. She had followed a rule she read online. It was simply the wrong rule for the situation she ended up in. This is the trap within the trap. It is not only careless giving that causes the problem. It is confident giving based on the tax rules by people who never knew Medicaid, played by a different book entirely. Now let me tell you how to protect your family from it, because there are real answers. The first and most important protection is simply knowing the rule exists. Most of the damage from the look back is done by families who have no idea it is there. Once you know that Medicaid looks back 5 years at every gift, you can plan around it. The families who get caught are the ones who find out too late. Just by watching this, you are already ahead of most people. The second protection is planning ahead of the 5-year window. The look back only reaches back 60 months. Gifts made more than 5 years before applying for Medicaid are not counted at all. This is why elder law attorneys so often talk about planning early, because a gift or a transfer made with more than 5 years of runway done correctly can fall completely outside the look back. The earlier a family plans, the more options they have. Planning at 70 opens doors that are closed at 82. The third protection is understanding the exceptions, because there are several, and most families have never heard of them. Transfers between spouses are generally not penalized. Transfers to a disabled child may be protected. And there is a powerful one called the caregiver child exception. If an adult child moves in and provides care that keeps a parent out of a nursing home for at least 2 years, the family home may be transferred to that child without penalty. These exceptions can save enormous sums, but only if you know to use them. The fourth protection is proper documentation and structure. There are legal, legitimate ways to help your family and protect your assets, certain kinds of trusts, properly structured well in advance, and other planning tools an elder law attorney can put in place. The key phrase is well in advance. Almost every good option in Medicaid planning depends on time. Which brings me to the single most important thing I can tell you. Do not wait. Every protection I have described gets weaker the longer you delay, and stronger the earlier you act. The look back rewards families who plan years ahead and punishes families who scramble at the last minute. If your parents are aging, or if you yourself are approaching the years where care becomes a real possibility, the time to understand these rules and put a plan in place is now, while you still have the runway to use every tool available. Let me spend a moment more on those exceptions, because they are where families save the most money and almost nobody knows the details. The spousal exception is the broadest. Transfers between spouses do not trigger a penalty. A husband can move assets to his wife or a wife to her husband without the look-back counting it, though those assets are then subject to the spousal rules I have covered in another video. This is why married couples have more room to plan than most people realize. The disabled child exception is one of the most powerful and least known. A parent can transfer assets, including in many cases the home, to a child who is blind or permanently disabled, without any penalty at all, no matter the amount. For families with a disabled child, this can protect the entire estate. The caregiver child exception is the one that moves families to tears when they learn about it too late. If an adult child moves into the parent's home and provides care that demonstrably keeps the parent out of a nursing home for at least 2 years, the parent may transfer the home to that child with no penalty. Think about how common that situation is: a daughter who quits her job or moves back in to care for a failing parent for years out of love. If that describes your family, the home may be protectable in full, but you have to document the caregiving and you have to know the rule exists. There is also an exception for transfers made for a purpose other than qualifying for Medicaid, but this one is difficult to prove and should never be relied upon without legal guidance. The point is not that you can memorize these and apply them yourself. The point is that they exist, they are specific, and an elder law attorney can often protect far more of your family's money than you would ever guess, but only if you ask before the mistakes are made. Let me be very clear about what I am not saying. I am not telling you to stop being generous. I am not telling you to stop helping your grandchildren or your kids. I am telling you that if you are giving away meaningful money, you should understand how it interacts with a Medicaid application you might file within 5 years, and you should talk to someone who knows the rules before you give, not after. Generosity is not the mistake. Generosity and ignorance of the look back is the mistake. Here is what to do. First, if you or your parents may need long-term care within the next several years, sit down with an elder law attorney and review any significant gifts made in the past 5 years, so there are no surprises when the time comes. Second, before making any large gift going forward, helping a grandchild, assisting a struggling child, transferring anything of value, pause and consider the 5-year window. A quick conversation with an elder law attorney before you give can prevent a penalty years later. Third, if long-term care may be on the horizon, plan early. The single greatest advantage in Medicaid planning is time. The tools that protect families work best when they are put in place well before the crisis. Fourth, learn the exceptions that apply to your situation. Spousal transfers, the caregiver child exception, and others, because they can protect far more than most families realize. I want to walk you through one more scenario because it shows how planning ahead completely changes the outcome, and it is the most hopeful part of this whole video. Picture 2 grandmothers identical in every way. Both have about $100,000 they would like to help their families with. Both will need nursing home care eventually. The first grandmother gives the money away freely over the next few years, wedding gifts, college help, a little to each grandchild, with no plan and no advice. When she needs care 3 years later, the full $100,000 is inside the 5-year window. It becomes a penalty of roughly 10 months. Her family scrambles to cover $100,000 at the worst possible moment. The second grandmother does the same generous things, but first she sits down with an elder law attorney and builds a plan. Some of her giving is structured through the right tools. Some is timed to fall outside the 5-year window. Some is protected through exceptions that apply to her family. When she needs care, the penalty is dramatically reduced or eliminated entirely, and her family keeps what she gave them. Same money, same generosity, same love. The only difference is that one planned and one did not. That is the entire lesson of this channel in a single comparison. The rules are not there to stop you from helping your family. They are there, and once you know them, you can help your family in a way that actually protects them instead of quietly setting a trap for years down the road. The quiet mistake is quiet precisely because no one warns you. Money leaves your hands as an act of love, and years later it returns as a penalty at the worst possible moment. But it does not have to be that way for your family. Now you know the rule. Now you can plan around it. And now you can be generous wisely instead of generous blindly. If this helped you, share it with your family, especially with your parents or with anyone who gives freely without knowing that Medicaid is keeping count. And watch my video on the 5-year look back next, where I break down exactly how the penalty is calculated and the strategies that protect against it. You handle everything. Let me help you handle this. Stay sharp, stay protected, and protect the people who spent their lives protecting you.